Hey viewers, my name's Kara. You're watching my personal channel, CuteWitch772, and today we're going to talk about unicorns, but this is also meant to be kind of a look into how synchronicity works in my life and how I glean messages from the universe out of repeating symbols, because that's something I talk about a lot, relatively a lot. I talk about synchronicity and getting messages from the universe and seeing repeating symbols or hearing repeating themes of things and how I take that as a message for me. And people have a lot of questions about that. And this, what's going on with me right now, is a great example. So I just wanted to do a video about it and kind of tell you the story, walk you through step by step. It's kind of a long story because it's me, but I really want to show you like the progression of how these thoughts kind of go through my head and how things reveal themselves to me. And over the years, this has happened with a number of things, right? It can be the same story being referenced by people in your life, and you see something online and you go to the store and you see a new book based on that story or a copy of that story or whatever. So it can be a singular story that gets repeated. That's happened to me before. Or it can be a lot of people, if you're interested in numerology, it can be a repeating number that just keeps coming up over and over and over, and that symbolism of that number is trying to tell you something. Or it can be a bigger symbol. In this case for me right now, it's the unicorn. So you can see various unicorns around me at the moment. Now I'm just gonna sit back and tell you a story. So earlier this week, from when I'm recording this, I got together with some pagans in my area around Cleveland, Ohio that I had never met before, or some that I had met before. The idea is to meet more that I haven't met, but not everybody could make it, as such is the case. That's what happens. But so we got together. It was a winter solstice event, the first one that we were holding in the Cleveland area. There are others elsewhere in Ohio, further in southern Ohio. And so we got together. It was only going to be a few of us who could make it, but at kind of the last minute, like an hour or so before the event, someone else said they were going to be able to make it, and that was going to be the only person coming who I hadn't met before. Well, this person arrived, and they were wearing this really cool unicorn kind of pullover hoodie looking type shirt, and it was a black shirt with silver metallic unicorns all over it. Some of them I think were solid and some of them were more like just the outline, and you could see it was black inside and just a silver outline, whatever it was. I loved it immediately, but I was in the middle of a conversation with someone else and doing other things, so I didn't get to say it right away. But eventually I said to this person, by the way, I love that shirt you're wearing. I love unicorns. And they were like, I also love unicorns, obviously. And that immediately got me sort of thinking about my childhood. This is how it works, right? The simplest thing can set me off on this thought train. So I started talking to them about basically our favorite mythical and magical creatures and having an affinity with unicorns. They like unicorns, I like unicorns. But so I was saying, when I was younger, as a little kid, like I'm still little, okay, I know, as a young kid, when I was littler than I am now, if you can believe it, I was once smaller than this. Those of you who haven't met me in real life might not know how small I am, but I'm a short person. Anyway, I was saying how when I was much younger, two of my cousins, who are sisters, used to live very close to me. And so we all lived really close together, but they lived like right on the next street from me. And so we used to hang out a lot. And one of them, her obsession was unicorns. And the other sister, her obsession was dragons. And we all loved Sailor Moon. So we all we all were into that together, but I was into these things because they were, and they were older, and that's what we did together, is hang out and watch Sailor Moon. And because the one was really into unicorns and the one was really into dragons, I kind of grew up with a love for both of them and an appreciation for both. And I never really felt like I could choose between the two. And to this day, I love both. I also love other types of mythical creatures. So I'm relating this story to this person at this event. And they ask me, okay, but which one is your favorite? And I said, I really don't feel comfortable choosing a favorite because I feel like I'd be leaving the other one out. But I guess, and so then I started thinking, like, I guess throughout my life, personally my life, I think I've been more drawn to unicorns. For example, I told this person, I have this wooden wall hanging that my mom had hung in my first bedroom. And I still have it, and it's right here. This is one of the first probably pieces of art that hung in one of my bedrooms as a child. And it's sort of a mommy unicorn with a pink mane and tail and a little baby possibly just getting up for the first time, just learning to walk. And it's this very, very dated style that was so popular at the time. So this is what it actually looks like. I told this person about it, and this is like one of the first references, I suppose, that I know of to unicorns in my life, because my mom chose this for me and hung it in my room, and I've had it ever since. So it is just there for the moment for display. It will be hanging up at some point. Boop, okay. And so then I also told them I have this unicorn oil burner that my mom also gave me that used to sit on my altar. So I have, it's actually a long dresser which has been stored at my grandma's house for a long time, but is finally now in my house. But it's in the background of some of my earliest YouTube videos when I still lived with my mom. I had this long dresser behind me that was my altar, and I have this unicorn oil burner, and I have a little lion statue looking box. And the lion and the unicorn, not only are they part of Queen Elizabeth II's English and Scottish heraldry, so they go together just historically, but to me, they always represented my being a Leo, so the lion, representing the solar side of things, and the unicorn being associated with the moon, representing the lunar side of the balance. So I had them on my altar as my solar and lunar, masculine, feminine, projective, receptive, introvert, extrovert type polarity symbols. This, I call it an oil burner, but it's not just for oil, but you would put the oil in there or your wax melts or whatever, and you would have a tea light candle down here to heat it. And then that's how it would be making things smell nice. Anyway, so I got this from my mom. I believe it was probably an item that we sold in her gift shop that she used to have, and I ended up with this one. And yeah, so it's always been on my altar. It's always been a representation of the divine feminine, of relation to the moon, and just a symbol of magic to me. One of the things that I don't have out here to show you is actually, I'm going to put this here for now because we're going to talk about those books too. Is actually a deck of cards that my mom and I, it was one of those things where you would like go to the store and buy a pack of them, kind of like you do with Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards or any other kind of trading cards now. But it was like, it was a divination deck, and the one card that we had to buy all these packs to try to get a complete deck, and then we ended up with like 2 and 3 almost duplicate decks because we were looking for one card that we needed to complete the first deck, and it was a unicorn card. and the unicorn in that deck represents magic. So there's that. I do have that deck nearby, but I didn't grab it to show you. But anyway, so I told them about this. I started thinking, and I was like, yeah, I guess it probably is unicorns, but I still feel bad. Like, I read a lot of books about unicorns. I don't even think I told them that at the time, though. The only things I remembered were these two major things, and I was like, yeah, I guess unicorns, but I still feel really bad. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm leaving out the dragons because they still feel important to me. But anyway, then I come home and I see in my living room my Lisa Frank unicorn stuffed animal named Marky. That's the name they're given. This is a Lisa Frank unicorn plushie, and I used to sleep with this every day. I sort of went through cycles of having different stuffed animals that I would sleep with at any given time, and some of them would still be on the bed, but there would be like the one that I would snuggle, and it was this unicorn for quite a while. It was one of various Care Bears for other times of my life, but yeah, so Marky was sitting in my living room when I got home from that event, and I was like, oh hey, unicorn, yeah, like, okay. Then since we had just done a winter solstice event, I was starting to feel more festive and in the season. I decided to finally switch over my ancestor altar from Samhain to winter solstice. So I was going through my winter solstice ornaments and decorations and things, and what do I see in my box of ornaments but about 20 of these that I totally temporarily forgot that I own. And every year, if I have a tree or if I don't, I decorate my broom or the blinds on the windows or whatever with a bunch of little unicorns. European style unicorns with a tiny little beard. Like, okay, unicorns, more unicorns. Then what? I'm trying to remember in order so I can take you on this journey with me. Then I look over and I see all the stacks of my books that have yet to be put away because I need to get a new bookshelf. One of my bookshelves has become repurposed as my teapot display area, so I need new bookshelves. So a bunch of my books are just sitting around, and one of the stacks of books literally is just a stack of books about unicorns. So we have The Little White Horse by Elizabeth Gouge, which I read in elementary school through my school's library. I remember checking it out and reading it. And when did this book come out? This book came out, originally in 1946, and the copyright was renewed in 1974. So I have no idea how old I was when I read it because it's older than me. But I just remembered loving this book, and I didn't remember almost anything about the story. I found this copy in a thrift store or a secondhand bookstore or something, half-price books, according to the sticker, and I had to grab it because I was like, I remember loving this book, and all I really remembered was that it had to do with a unicorn. But then I reread it recently, like this past year or 2 years ago when I got it, and it was like all coming back to me. So there's The Little White Horse, and there is this series, which I don't have all of them. I have 1 through 6. I think there are 8, might be 10. I don't know, but they only had the first 6 at the time through the Scholastic Book Fair, and it is a series by Mary Stanton called Unicorns of Balinor. Book 1 is The Road to Balinor. 2 is Sun Chaser's Quest. 3, Valley of Fear. So we've got some black unicorns and some fire going on there. 4 is By Fire by Moonlight. 5 is Search for the Star. Look at that beautiful blue unicorn. And 6 is Secrets of the Scepter. Purple unicorn. So there are colorful unicorns in this universe. They are not all white. They all have different colors and different metals and different jewels and crystal frequencies about them. I loved this series as a kid, and I still, when I go to a secondhand bookstore or anything like that, I still keep an eye out to see if I can find the remaining books, because I would like to have the whole series. And then the other one, again, that I first got from the Scholastic Book Fair through school is Into the Land of Unicorns by Bruce Coville, and the main character of this story's name is Kara, or Kara, but it's spelled with a C, and my name is Kara, so I always read it as Kara. And also, there are other reasons why throughout things that we learn about this character and her family in the story, which lead me to believe that her name is pronounced the same way as mine, because I believe that it's meant to be the word that means dear or beloved, precious, because there are just clues throughout the story that make me think that that is what the meaning of her name is supposed to be, which is the meaning of my name. So I was always very attached to that story. And then the sequel I found at Half Price Books, a hardcover version, years later. The sequel is Song of the Wanderer. So when I finally found this, after having read this years before and loved it, it was like, finally I can continue the story. So yeah, so I walk into my house and I see this, and then I find the ornaments, and I see this stack of books about unicorns, and I'm like, okay, unicorns, I see you. Yes, I do like you. You have been around my whole life. Okay, cool. What am I learning from this? Let me put these back here real quick. Oh no! So then, oh my gosh. Calm down. So then, looking around, what else is there to talk about? Yeah, okay, so staying in order of things. At that point, I think I remembered this unicorn mug, which basically just sits in my cupboard a lot of the time. I don't even use it a lot of the time because it's so precious to me. I'm so protective of this thing that, and I've broken mugs before and I've been devastated. I would be more than devastated if anything ever happened to this mug. I've had so many of my favorite mugs at the time break. One of them I still have. It's glued together in pieces, and it's not, you can't drink out of it anymore, but I store things in it, like as a container. I would be beyond devastated if this thing broke, and so I very rarely ever use it, but obviously for this video, wanted to bring it out. So let's autofocus. Thank you so much for sticking with me through these videos that I can't edit, by the way, and for being patient through these pauses and autofocus moments and things that I would normally edit to correction. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the conversational quality. But yeah, so then I have this. I'm like, all right, yeah, unicorns. Unicorns have been a thing in my life ever since I was little. Like, I've had this for years. My mom bought this for me. And so I'm like, all right. Then I got a package from my friend Lauren. We were going to be doing a Samhain swap, but a lot of things were going on in my life at the time, so I was not able to get things ready and shipped out to her by Samhain. So we decided to postpone a little bit, and then it became kind of a Samhain/solstice swap. Try saying that 3 times fast. I could barely say it that time. But anyway, so after this event, I had the package, but I didn't open it right away. So then I finally get around to opening this package, and first of all, there's a ton of stuff in it, but then the last thing, all the way at the bottom of the box, Lauren bought me the planner that I've been using this year, and so the last thing all the way at the bottom of the box was a new planner for 2019. And guess what was on it? Unicorns! European folklore style unicorns with the long lion's tail. Do they have beards? They don't have beards. They have the lion's tail though. I was thinking of them as having the long tail with the little beard. The goat's beard style thing. But yeah, so cute. But also, yeah, so I got this like right after all of these other things and this conversation started by this person at this event. And so I'm thinking, I'm like, Lauren put this in the mail days ago. She had no idea that there was a unicorn symbolism conjecture. That's not the right. Convergence is the word I was looking for. Convergence in my life when she put this in the mail, but then I received it at the exact right time for it to just kind of hammer the point home. So when I saw this, I practically cried, and I was like, okay, unicorns, I get it. I see you. I hear you. You are important in my life. You have been here the whole time. Dragons are cool, but like, okay, I get it. It's unicorns. Also, unicorns are one of my personal associations with one of the deities that I feel connected to. It's not, as far as I know, it's not like a historical, established association. It's just something that through symbolism, I've come to think of them as a symbol. So then I started thinking, like, I don't know if this is just a symbol of unicorns in general, or if this is a message from this deity. And then there's another deity who I've been getting other messages that were seemingly totally unrelated, but then tied back into this other deity. So then I was like, okay, so is it these two deities telling me, like, set up their altars again? Like, let's get going, what are you doing? Or is it unicorns in general? And it could be both, because there's obviously a lot of unicorn stuff going on. So after I messaged Lauren to tell her about all of these unicorns, and then this kind of just even more strengthening that association that, like, all right, no, this is definitely just a convergence of unicorn symbols right now. Immediately after messaging that, I was like, oh my gosh, how dense am I that I didn't even remember during all of this, I didn't even remember the unicorn diary that I wanted so badly when I was 5 years old from the school book fair that my mom, because I didn't know it was book fair day for some reason, and I didn't have any money with me when they took us over to the book fair like they do on those days. It's a little field trip, or it's like instead of going to the library or instead of going to gym. I think it was instead of going to gym because they set it up in the gymnasium. So anyway, during that week, when it would be your time to go to gym class, you would go to the book fair, and I saw this, and I didn't have money for it, but I wanted it so bad. It's got kind of a smushy cover. You can't tell, but it's kind of a smushy plastic pillowy cover, and I wanted it so much that my mom had to bring me back to school after school another day during the week when the book fair was still there to get this for me. I wrote the date in the front of it in my tiny little 5-year-old handwriting. How could I forget that? And even more importantly, if you've been watching my videos for years and you're like really into the details of stuff that I've shown in the past, you might have already thought of this and been like, hello, Cara, what are you thinking? How could I possibly have not thought of the fact that my freaking Book of Shadows is a unicorn, guys? How? How did I forget this? How did I not? How? Okay, so unicorns. And then Lauren said, well, yeah, I thought you would like the planner. I know you like stationery and stuff. And I said, girl, I'm pretty sure I have unicorn stationery somewhere. So sure enough, I went and looked in my stationery drawer. Unicorns. Rainbow unicorns. Okay? So there's actually that. And then getting ready to do this video, I remembered another little tiny symbolism thing that I've had sitting around in the drawer of one of my altar tables, because I used to use them on little altars that I would make. I had a lot of small things, so I could set things up and then wrap it all back up and put it back in the drawer, are these little ceramic paint your own doodads that I painted one pink and one blue, because I used to have toys of unicorns that were just, plastic kids' toys that were pink and blue and purple, and they were like solid mane and tail color, so I painted a pink and a blue. Other than that, they're identical, and they have the little beards. Okay, so I have these sitting around. I opened up, you remember that Leo the lion gift box type thing that I mentioned earlier that used to sit on my altar? I opened that up, and what do I find inside it but this thing that I knocked down earlier, drawing attention to it. Giant silver unicorn brooch or pin. Autofocus. There it goes. Giant silver brooch. Unicorn. This was also a gift from my mom, like most things. It's pretty big. It's pretty heavy, so I don't wear it very often. It's still on the thing that it came on. But yeah, so that's there. And then I also remembered I still have a few Beanie Babies. One of them is Mystic the Unicorn, because she was one of my favorites, so of course I kept her. Like, how do you live a life full of unicorns? And when someone asks you, like, are unicorns your favorite? Or like, have unicorns been a big part of your life? You're like, I don't know, I guess. And then you come home and see them all, and they're like, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. We're here. We've been here the whole time. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Unicorns. So at that point, when I notice there's also like, there was a giant unicorn poster that used to hang in my bedroom when I was a teenager that I don't think I have anymore, or if I do, it's somewhere else. I don't know where it is right now. And also, the first thing when I went to my local medieval fair for the first time, I was probably like 10 or 11. It was back when I was like very first just getting to learn about paganism and witchcraft, like the very beginning of my path. And we went to the medieval fair for the first time. The very first thing that my mom bought for me that I picked out was a crystal etched necklace. It was like, I think they're glass, but they call them like crystal etching. It's a pendant. It's basically like an oval piece of glass that someone has laser etched little designs into, and then they have like a metallic rainbow look. So when you look at it from the front, it's like in this glass globe, and it's shiny and metallic rainbow. And the one that I got was a unicorn. And I still have that somewhere too, but it's in one of my jewelry boxes, and I couldn't find it to show in this video. But it's also really small and really shiny, and I don't think you'd be able to see it on camera very well anyway. But yeah, one of the first things I got from the medieval fair, which has been such a big part of my life, was a unicorn pendant, all of these things, right? Now, fear not, dragon fans, I also have a dragon Beanie Baby, which I just hit myself in the face with. I also have a dragon little statuette that you've probably seen on my bookshelf that's behind me in a lot of other videos that I do when I'm in front of my bookshelf at my desk. I have a little red dragon that sits behind me, and she is very important to me. I also have this little guy, or little guys, little dragons, who typically sit on my prosperity altar. I have this, which I got out of like a gumball machine, and I put on my prosperity altar. Her name is Goldie, after the gargoyle from Sandman, but also because she's gold. I was going to have her sit on my finger, but it didn't work. So that's Goldie. I know you can't really see her. This guy, which came from my mom's gift shop. This one I don't really display as much anymore. There's that. And when I was in a ceramics class in undergrad, and we had to make a variety of things, one of the things I made was, one of the techniques for making a lidded item was to make a hollow shape and use a wire to cut off the lid. And I made a dragon egg. So you can see, this is where I put the wire in, and then you pull the wire up and down, and then when it came out, so it has these arches where the wire went in and out. It's a little hollow egg. so you can store things in it. And it didn't come out very well. I was trying to use one of the like clay dye type things. So the letters kind of half disappeared, but it's supposed to say, "Here there be dragons" around it. So yeah. So there's still some dragon love for sure, but I think the unicorns far outweigh the dragons, and at that point, it's something that I would just think about, okay, what do unicorns mean to me? What is the message that the universe could possibly be sending me? And then if I come to a sticking point, I also like to look it up online. Like, what do other people think that unicorns symbolize generally? And of course, if there's any mythology, legends, folklore about whatever the symbol is, in this case unicorns, there's a ton, that is also something that can inform what the universe might be trying to tell you right now. So with unicorns, there's a whole lot of things, right? There's purity, innocence, purity of heart. There's having a true heart. There is magic in general, and also there's a story that you may or may not know, which is kind of from the Christian framework, that the reason why we don't have unicorns anymore living on Earth is because they were too prideful to get on Noah's Ark when God flooded the earth. And so they said, we don't need to get on an ark. We can swim. We're the strongest swimmers. You know, we can just swim the whole way. And of course, they perished in the flood. So goes the tale. And that's why we don't have unicorns anymore. So that story tells us that unicorns symbolize pride, possibly foolishness, but there are lots of other stories. So again, depending on the stories that you've heard, or the stories that you look to, and the symbolism that you know that has been passed down to you through your lifetime, it might mean different things. One of the things that I had not heard, I looked it up online just to see, like, all right, yeah, I know, magic, purity, innocence, all of these types of things, feminine, the moon associations, all that stuff that I already knew. But I found a couple websites. I just Googled it. I just Googled unicorn symbolism. I looked at a bunch of different websites to see what they had to say. A lot of them had to say the same things. One of them, though, mentioned something that I've never really heard before, or I might have heard before, but I forgot, and now it means more to me, is that unicorns have to do with truth and dispelling illusion. Truth was my intention for 2018. 2018 is almost over at this point, but truth was my intention for 2018, and dispelling illusion has been a big theme for my life for the past couple of years, but definitely along with truth and finding the truth, separating the truth, capital T, truth, from the illusions. I actually recently had a dream that I talked about on Instagram that was all about illusion and everything being an illusion and finding the truth within that. And so now here I come to find that some people associate unicorns with that very thing. So there are multiple places where symbolism of the unicorn intersects with my life right now. So on the one hand, it can be a message from this deity, like, hey, put my altar back together, because that unicorn oil burner used to be on this altar. Or it could be a general symbolism about truth, innocence, purity. It could be this truth and illusion theme that has been coming up, and that's something that I've been working with for the past year especially. Another thing that website said was about unicorns as being a lot of websites and a lot of just general things talk about how unicorns can kind of walk between the worlds, and so they're not fully in this world or the other, and they can kind of pass freely from one realm to the other. And so that's a theme that you hear a lot of people talking about, but this one website that talked about truth and illusion also took that and said, because of that, we consider unicorns to be a symbol of going beyond limitations and boundaries, because the regular boundaries of everyday reality and what is reality and what is dream time and what is illusion are not things that unicorns have to worry about, because they can freely walk between those realms. And the dream world is kind of definitely a place where unicorns dwell. We think of them as fantasy creatures, all of this kind of thing. So the dream realm is very much a place where we expect them to be, and they can wander freely. So boundaries don't really mean as much to them as they do to us as physical beings on this physical plane. That concept of limitations and boundaries is the main concept that I've been working with Saturn energy in my Saturn returns work. And we are coming up on Capricorn season right now, which is when I wanted to begin the third round of my Saturn returns course, actually offering some of that work to you. I worked with 2 groups last year, but did not get a group going this year yet, so I wanted to start it at the end of December in Capricorn season, and I've been wondering when to do that, if it's too late to announce that now, if I should just wait till after the new year. And now I'm getting this unicorn thing, one of several messages being how they can work with illusion and truth and limitation and boundary, which is all Saturn return work that I've been doing. So now I'm kind of tempted to go back and like rework some things or add something and include the unicorn as a part of that. So there are many different ways which this just realization that I am constantly surrounded by unicorns in my life has so far informed some things that I have to think about. And also, I'm sure, because it's me, I will keep thinking about these things, and I will keep finding more unicorns, and I will keep seeing more unicorns for a while until I really establish in my mind what this message is, or what the many aspects of the message are, and start implementing them into my life. And then I will still have all these unicorn things, because these are physical objects that surround me, literally at the moment, but the messaging will slow down. When I get it, then they no longer have to knock and say, hey, pay attention, we're telling you something. So yeah. So that's how repeated messaging works a little bit in my life. That's how synchronicity works. You go somewhere, you talk to someone, they're wearing a symbol, you start talking about it, you remember all these things, you come home, you see it, you see it, you see it, someone gives you something with it, and then, yeah, then it's at the forefront of your mind. So pay attention to those types of things. It might seem like, okay, well, that's ridiculous. You could literally go around your house and say, you know, the message is books because you have a lot of books. Well, maybe it is, you know, maybe that is a message for you to read more or to pay more attention to your words, you know, anything. It's whatever it is for you, and it's going to be different for me than it is for you. I believe that the universe gives us messages in ways that it knows we will understand, and the universe has learned about me in the past few years especially that I require many repeated instances to truly believe that it's something I'm supposed to be paying attention to. Otherwise, I'll write it off as coincidence. If it's 2 or 3 times, not enough. The universe knows it's got to be like 20 repeating instances in a row for me to register, okay, unicorns are trying to tell me something. And then I can learn from that. For you, it might just be one thing, and then it pops into your head and you're like, oh, that reminds me of this thing. That's something that I should pay attention to. Yes, good. Not so for me. So if you would like to share in the comments your experiences with synchronicity, getting messages from the universe, how it works for you, if you love unicorns, what's your favorite mythical creature, whatever, you may do that in the comments. If you don't want to do any of that, that's fine too. I would appreciate if you like this video, if you did, so that the algorithms are better, honestly, so that YouTube knows you like what I'm doing, and so I know. And yeah, there's going to be some links popping up over here to possibly one of my most recent videos, possibly a relevant video that I've done on this channel or on the Pagan Perspective collab channel. We'll see what ends up there. There will also be a little bubble for you to subscribe to my channel and maybe a link for you to check out my blog or my Etsy shop or something else like that. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time, and until then, don't forget to be awesome, blessed be, and goodbye.